Good morning, everyone. It's Carolyn. Welcome back to Contemporary Mama in another episode in my monthly freezer cooking series. Today's recipes are going to be super easy. I think I'm going to be able to make everything in well under an hour, no joke. I'm going to be making breakfast sandwiches, a freezer to crockpot Italian wedding soup, as well as a yummy crockpot ginger peach chicken recipe. So I'm really excited to share all these recipes with you, show you how I prepare them for the freezer, and then as well as going from freezer to cooking them. I really hope that you enjoy. So I'm gonna get started with the egg mixture for my breakfast sandwiches. And this is actually what is going to take the longest, so that is why I am going to be preparing this first, because these are actually going to bake in the oven. So I'm going to make 12 breakfast sandwiches. So I am going to be cracking 12 eggs in this bowl. I'm going to add a little splash of milk. I'm going to add some seasonings, probably just salt and pepper, and keep it simple. But, you know, definitely add whatever seasonings you like in your eggs. The Everything But the Bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's is one of my all-time favorites. And then you can definitely just make an egg mixture for your breakfast sandwiches, but if you want to add anything extra to it, then feel free to go right ahead. This is a great way to bulk it up with some vegetables. I personally am going to be adding some spinach. I love buying this frozen spinach in the grocery store. It's super cheap. It's only $1. So what I do is I thaw this in my refrigerator, squeeze out all the excess liquid, and then I'm going to add this into my egg mixture. And you won't even know it's there, I promise. So my egg mixture is done. I am going to place this in a 350-degree oven and let that cook until the eggs are set. This is, I believe, a 9 by 13 pan. You want it to be a little bit on the larger side because you do need to cut it into 12 portions, but I'm gonna let this bake for like 20 to 22 minutes until this is set. I'm also going to stick my bacon in the oven to cook as well. If you want to do sausage or ham or a different protein to go along with your egg sandwich, then you can do whatever you want, but I'm just going to do bacon because that's what I have. So while my eggs and bacon are in the oven, I'm gonna get started prepping everything for my freezer to crockpot Italian wedding soup. So there's a lot of produce, so I'm just gonna whiz through prepping that, and I'm gonna be making 2 servings to put in my freezer today. So if you only wanna make 1 serving, then I'll just give you the ingredients for that. So for 1 serving, you need about 4 carrots. You need a head of escarole, thinly sliced. The carrots are obviously chopped, and then a small onion also chopped up. So I'm gonna prep all of this produce, and then I'll show you how I put everything together with the rest of the ingredients. So now that all my produce is prepped, that is pretty much the bulk of the work. So I'm just gonna briefly go over the rest of the ingredients, and then I'm gonna split everything between the 2 bags. Now, since this is a freezer meal, it makes total sense to use frozen mini meatballs. I mean, they're going in the freezer anyways. If you wanna make your own mini meatballs, that's perfectly fine, but this is gonna be a huge time saver. So I opted to get these mini chicken meatballs because they were on sale, but you could use regular Italian meatballs too, as long as they're the mini size, because again, this is going in soup. So you want to get a small bag, like 12 to 14 ounces each. So 1 bag is going to go into each freezer meal bag. Now we're obviously going to be dividing up our produce between the 2 bags. So a head of escarole each, and then 4 carrots and 1 onion in each bag as well. So for the seasonings, I did forget, I can't believe I don't have Worcestershire sauce, but you're gonna wanna add a tablespoon of that to each bag. So I'm just gonna have to mark it down on my bag and remember to add it the day of cooking. And then for seasonings, you're gonna wanna add about a teaspoon of onion powder and garlic salt, as well as Montreal steak seasoning. This is just like the generic version. Now, you could just go ahead and use chicken broth if you want, but if you don't have that much chicken broth, because you will need 8 cups, you can just go ahead and add 8 teaspoons of chicken bouillon, and then on the day of cooking, you'll just have to add 8 cups of water. So once you add all of those ingredients to your freezer bag, you want to remove as much air as possible, lay it flat in your freezer, and then the day you're ready to cook, you just kind of want to thaw it in the fridge the night before, stick it in your crock pot along with those 8 cups of water, and then you're also going to add your pasta at the same time. You can really use any like small pasta like ancini di pepe, or I'm using ditalini. So you're gonna add the pasta the day of cooking. Pasta only needs to cook for the last 30 minutes of that 6 to 8 hours that it's in the crock pot. So my eggs and bacon are cooling, so the last meal that I'm going to be throwing together before I make the breakfast sandwiches is a ginger peach crock pot chicken. I'm going to be making one for dinner tonight in the crock pot right now, and I'm going to be preparing a second one for the freezer. This is perfect because chicken thighs were actually on sale at my grocery store, so I have a ton of them to use up. So I'm going to show you how I make it tonight, show you how it turns out, and I'll have another one to stick in the freezer for another night next month. This is a dump and go recipe, so I'm just gonna tell you the ingredients super quick and then I'll put them all together for you. For each meal, you're gonna need 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You're gonna need a 12-ounce bag of frozen sliced peaches. You're gonna need a red onion sliced. The recipe calls for a tablespoon of grated ginger. You guys know that I love this frozen ginger, so I'm going to use a couple cubes of those. I believe each of these are just a teaspoon, so I'll use a few, maybe more because I love ginger. You'll need 2 tablespoons of soy sauce and then 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. So seriously, you just dump it all into your crock pot. So you'll just dump all that into your crock pot, and then I'm gonna be dumping the same into a gallon size freezer bag. And this is, you know, just like it always is, cook 6 to 8 hours on low, depending on how your crock pot, if it runs hot, then you might need a little bit less. Mine usually takes about 6 for chicken. Oh, I think I forgot to mention the 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, but you'll need that too. The last thing I need to do is assemble all my breakfast sandwiches. I have everything already. My English muffins I have 12 of, and I did just lightly toast them in the toaster while I was kind of like doing everything else. So those are just lightly toasted. I have 12 slices of cheddar cheese. My eggs I have cut into 12 even squares. And then my bacon I'm just going to break in half. So I'm just going to whip these all together, wrap them up in some parchment paper, and then I'll stick everything in a freezer bag. So my breakfast sandwiches are all done. I'm just sticking them in a gallon-sized bag. If you can remember to take them out the night before and stick them in the fridge, that'll help them thaw a little bit. But if you don't, that's okay. Just microwave them on the defrost setting or at 50% power for about a minute. Flip them over and then microwave them on high for another 30 seconds and they'll be nice and warm through. So my freezer cooking is done, and this really only took me about an hour start to finish. So I'm really excited that I have all these meals, and seriously, it only took me an hour. That's awesome. So here are my breakfast sandwiches, all individually wrapped up in parchment paper, and those are going to be great for bringing to work since I leave super early in the morning. I do not have time to cook breakfast before I leave. I have 2 bags of my crock pot Italian wedding soup. So all I'm gonna have to do is add this to my crock pot with 8 cups of water. And then about 30 minutes before it's done, I'll add like half a cup or a cup of that mini pasta. So I have 2 of those. I'm really excited for this. And then I have 2 servings of my ginger peach chicken. So 1 in a freezer bag for another night. And then 1 I'm gonna be serving tonight. So really excited. I'll show you how this turns out shortly because we're going to be having it for dinner tonight. Obviously, it's in the crock pot cooking away. So my ginger peach chicken is all done. I did add some shredded zucchini because it was going bad, but the chicken is super tender and it smells amazing in here. I'm going to serve this over some cauliflower rice, but regular rice would probably be amazing too. Can't wait to dig in. So I really hope that you enjoyed this episode of my freezer cooking series and that you got some great ideas on how to fill your freezer in not that much time at all. Seriously, freezer cooking seems really overwhelming, but to make it really manageable, all I do is try and double recipes that I'm cooking every day and that I know are gonna freeze well. So I'll see you again on Tuesday with a brand new video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up. It really helps out my channel. And if you aren't already, make sure that you subscribe before you leave. Bye guys!